Hey guys, this is Dr. Fastlane. Here I am with Louis Adney. He is from Southern California and he moved to New Mexico 40 years ago. As you can see, this is his garage and tells you that he has a big passion for cars. In the back, what you see, that's his baby called Franken Sled.
I have a passion for cars, obviously, and I got into cars very young. I would say probably at about the age of 15. I first saw a I want to say it was a 74 Camaro Z28 going down the street, loud and rude and just really looking cool. And right then I think I fell in love with cars. And of course I was too young to own a car at the time. But later on in life, as I became more financially secure and had my eye more set on vehicles, I was more into probably sports cars. So I did what I could, bought cars that I could afford and fix them up, and got into some car clubs and got to see so many different cars out there and what everybody was doing with them. And I realized that customizing was really my passion. I didn't like things that were factory only. You know, I wanted to do something that was me, that projected my image and was different and unique. Years later, I also got into custom motorcycles. So I had a custom motorcycle shop called Roadrunner Cycles for a number of years here. And we built some really top-notch custom bikes. And originally I started off thinking, you know, Harley Davidson was it, but I just got bored with it, you know, so I wanted something different. So we really just started building some new and unique ideas for the time. Of course, you know, that was back the rage of the motorcycle thing that was going on back in the early 2000s. And I kind of started getting interested in older cars. And one day I was going up the road and I saw a 1955 Mercury parked on the side of the road with a for sale sign on it. And that got my attention. And I had just sold a Mustang. And so I had some money burning a hole in my pocket. So I pulled over and looked at it. There was a phone number. Got a hold of the guy who actually lives here in town. And he met me down there. And there was a bunch of other people there. And I was like, man, I don't want to miss out on this. So I immediately I paid the guy what he wanted for the car. I think it was about $3,500.
How long ago was that?
This was back in 07.
07, okay.
And it was a red Mercury. Somebody had painted it. It was in horrible shape. It had problems with the motor. I actually ran out of gas driving it down the street, you know, those kinds of things. But that's the fun part of it, right? You get these cars, they're kind of a mess, and then you want to fix them up. So I had that car for about 8 years. I became a great friend with this other gentleman. We're still friends today. We've worked together for a number of years. And once I got rid of that car, then I bought a sports car. I had to go back into sports cars. So I had a Camaro, I had a Mustang. Eventually, I then purchased a 62 Dodge D100 pickup truck. And that was being built, customized at a shop here. And it had been there for about 5.5 years, and I got just too anxious, and I couldn't wait any longer. So I actually sold that truck. I ordered a new C8 Corvette.
Yeah, guys, I wish you guys would have seen that Corvette. He ordered that brand new. He did the customization to that. That's what he does, and he makes it look apart from other Corvettes or other cars. And that was beautiful. I saw it. I wish I could buy that one at that time. He was trying to sell, because that's what he does. He buys the cars, he customizes it, he puts his heart and soul into that, and blood and sweat. And then I don't know how he is able to let them go. I just can't. Those cars become part of my family, but it looks like he just enjoys building them, and then he's able to part with them. That's another talent, I guess. So speaking of this Franken Sled.
Yeah, so this is a really interesting story. So while I was waiting for this Corvette, and this was back in, I think, 2019 when I ordered it, I didn't have anything to drive because all I had was my work car, a little Ford Fiesta.
Yeah.
Not the most exciting car in the world. Anyway, so I'm getting anxious. So I'm online. I'm a member of all these different car forums, and I'm just looking around. I'm thinking, maybe I should think about getting something while I'm waiting. And this car popped up, and it was just in bare metal. It was not a complete car. It had no drivetrain, no interior. It was, just a builder. And I go, wow, that really represents the body lines and the style that I like. But I passed because I didn't want to do a project car because those take time. So I forgot about it. And then later on, I thought, I'm going to go into a Mercury forum. So I asked some of the people in the Mercury forum, who's got a driver-ready Mercury for around $35,000? And all of a sudden, everybody's popping up pictures. Well, the guy that had this car, Bob McCarty, he lives in Indiana, Evansville, Indiana, popped this car back up on the site, and I went, oh, man, there it is again. So this thing's reaching out to me. It says, take me. So I ended up talking with him. We messaged back and forth for a couple hours on Facebook. He sent me tons and tons of pictures. He gave me a little history. The car was initially started by a gentleman by the name of Tim Dempsey about 17 years ago. I don't know where exactly Tim is at. I actually still kind of keep in touch with him, and I've sent him a lot of updates and stuff. But he started the car, and then he had a business, but then I guess the business closed, and he sold the car to Bob. Bob had the car for a few years. Nothing was ever really done. And
so I'm assuming that what you were telling us is it was not in this shape. It was just bare metal. I mean, what was it at that time?
It was just bare metal. The front portion of the car was in primer, and Tim had connected the front to the fender, so it's all one piece. And then the rest of it was just all bare metal.
Okay.
There was a lot of rust. The floorboards were bad. There was no sheet metal in the trunk. Nothing in the interior whatsoever. No motor. It was a mess.
Okay.
And so I had a lot of parts on the garage floor. I struck a deal with him. He grew up in Deming, actually, so he actually traded the car from Indiana down here and delivered it into my garage on January 1st of 2021.
I see.
And going forward a little bit, a very good friend of mine here in town named Tony Hale, he has a private shop. Now, I'm not a builder myself. I don't have the wherewithal. I'm more of a money idea kind of guy. But Tony got this shop going. He said, hey, I just got this shop up, and I'd like to take on a project. Would you be interested? I said, yeah, I got this car, man. Let's get something cooking. So April came by. We took it over to his shop, and it was over there for about 2.5 years. We took it all the way down to the frame and just kind of started building it back up. I'd say about 90% of this car is all brand new components.
I see.
And the only thing original about the car is going to be this line on the fender here.
Right.
And then the trunk lid.
So before we get into the specifics of the cars and the engine and the interior, still, I think I would like to know FrankenSled. So what kind of parts or combination of the I think you were telling me earlier about it has several kind of parts from different.
One of the difficult things about coming up with names for something is why that name. Up on my wall there, I got a license plate called Bone Shaker. And I have a little license plate motorcycle called Bone Shaker, and I built a bike that was a rigid frame, and it would just rattle you around. I call it Bone Shaker. The reason I call this one FrankenSled is because it's a 54 Chevy 210 that's been dramatically modified, but it has a lot of different components from different cars on it. So, for instance, I've got 1939 Ford headlights on it, lenses. And I've got a 50 Mercury bumper on the back, 1961 Chrysler side mirrors. I've got a 1946 Ford rear window in the back. And then it's got a 1959 Chevy Impala dash inside. So it's a combination of parts. So I spent several months coming up with all these different names to call the car. And finally, it just struck me one day, FrankenSled. And I thought, that pretty much says it all. Right. FrankenSled, right? So it really exudes.
And I guess your plate in the back also says that.
Yeah, it does. It says it's a vanity plate, says FrankenSled.
Right.
And I get a lot of great reaction from people at car shows. They said that's a very fitting name.
Yeah.
The number one question I always get is this a Mercury? No, it is not a Mercury.
Yeah.
People, I think that because of just how elongated the car is,
right,
and the chop and everything,
right,
which was more prominent in the Mercurys.
Right.
It's very rare to see a Chevy, 53, 54 Chevy, done this dramatic. In fact, this is the only one in the country that's done this dramatic. The closest thing would be Voodoo Larry, who's a very well-known name in the industry, did a 54 Chevy many years ago, very similar to this. The interesting story behind that is that Tim Dempsey, who actually started building this car, learned under Voodoo Larry. Because I looked at this car one day and I said, this looks like a Voodoo Larry style car. And that, then I find that out, and that answered my question as to why it looks that way.
Right. Please tell us about the body now. I know you told us a little bit initially, but you said it wasn't like that. It was just a frame or just a bare metal. So what exactly have you done since you got the car?
Basically, what you're seeing on the body style itself, the car was already modified like this when I got it. So if you're familiar with a 53, 54 Chevy, the original fender comes up here and then it rounds out this way. So that was all removed and changed, and then this scoop was brought in here.
So you guys came up with this idea, or?
No. It was like that. Tim Dempsey did that. Okay, that was already like that.
Nice.
And
if the camera can show us this up close, it kind of looks like a little air vent, but it's probably just for the design.
Yeah, it's inactive. It doesn't do anything there. Okay. Our thought was to put in some meshing and maybe some LED lighting in here.
Nice.
These are 1950 Mercury skirts. So on a traditional 53, 54 Chevy, your opening is typically much smaller and has a smaller skirt in there.
I see.
I don't like the look of that, so I like the longer, elongated Mercury skirt on here.
So is it removable? Can you remove it?
Yeah, it's got 2 springs underneath there. It's a little bit of a pain to do it, but yeah, they do come off.
Okay.
And then the back fender structure normally terminates a lot shorter. So those point pieces that you see there were brought out, and then it's got 1959 Chrysler taillights. Yeah, and I do want to talk about the chop on here real quick too. So this was chopped down 7.5 inches in the front.
Wow.
So it's a dramatic chop. And then it was taken out 9 inches in the back. And it's a very wide top. So when you chop tops like this, it elongates the car quite a bit. It's got a dramatic slope to it, which is why you don't have the original rear window in there. Now it's got a flat 1946 Ford window in the back. But you also typically have to section in something on the roof line as well. So this gives it a very dramatic look and makes the car nice and low. And I can easily stretch my fingers in here.
Yes.
So not the best view in the world. You don't have great visibility, but we did incorporate a rear camera in the back window. So I have a video rear view mirror. And even if a car is up this way, because the car length, I can still see that I have a car here. So the side mirrors are really just more for looks. I rely on the rear view camera mirror to keep me safe on the road.
Right.
The only thing we did on the body ourselves was we modified the fenders here. We had to flare the fenders because I'm running 20-inch rims.
Right.
And I ride the car low. Yeah. So in order to keep turning radius, we elongated these. So what we did was we cut a section out from the actual factory line and then laid that piece out. And then Tony put in structured pieces here to set it where we needed it. And then he hand built the sheet metal that goes in here.
Nice.
And then incorporated it.
Yeah.
It looks great. And the nice thing about this is that nobody has ever said that's not factory. Because we kept that nice factory line.
Right.
It looks like it came from the factory that way.
Right. Tell me about this rim. These are very interesting rims.
Yeah, so these are 20 by 8. They're made by US Wheel. And the struggle I had for a long time, wheels have always been probably the first customizing thing I do to any car, because wheels just change the whole dynamic look of a car. I spent many months shopping for wheels. I wanted something that had the old style look, but also brought in kind of a newer style. A lot of guys hate this. They're traditionalists. They like the 15-inch with the fat white walls and all that, which looks cool. It does, and I've had cars like that. But I wanted more of a traditional look. In fact, one of my little models that I have has this kind of look to it with the 20-inch rims. A lot of people like it, but a lot of people hate it. So I get a lot of flack about it. But US Wheel had this. It's a solid wheel. It's got a nice deep dish to it.
Right.
With the chrome edge around here, the stepped edge.
Yes.
And then traditionally I put on what's called spider caps. So these are very traditional. So it has that old solid wheel look to it, but it's a modern sized wheel and it has some modern styling.
Hey Louis, so please tell us about the heart of this car, which is the engine. This is beautiful. I'm drooling all over it, but I'm sure you know what the audience want to hear.
Well, it's, nothing super fancy, but this is a Chevy small block. It's a 383 stroker. This was dynoed at the factory. The motor's by Blueprint Motors, and it's dynoed at 455 horsepower and 480 foot-pounds of torque. It's backed by a 460 LE transmission with a a Yank converter. And it's got all the power that I need. I didn't want to go, the standard 350, which you see most commonly. I wanted a little bit more power than that. The transmission's rated for 500 horsepower, so it gets me up and going. It's a heavy car, it's all steel. Cooling was one of the big issues we dealt with. So we upgraded, went to 3,000 CFM fan, and then we have a tri-core radiator system in here with a 180 thermostat set up, and then we incorporated also an overflow tank here for that as well. We've got a Resto Mod AC heater system in the car. It's not fully operational yet, but once we get it operational, it should stay nice and cool inside the car. And basically, we have power steering on this thing too, because power steering with this car, it's very hard to negotiate without power steering. The old style, we call it Armstrong steering, because you really had to put into it, to get the car to move around. But it drives and handles very simple. It turns great with that. We've got disc brakes in the front, and then we're running drum brakes in the rear. Couldn't get discs to fit in the back. It's a Mustang 2 front end suspension on it. We're running the original frame under the motor with some modifications to it, and we've got an 83 GM rear end set up in it.
Right.
And
nice.
Other than that, it runs out.
I mean, what I love about this thing, man, is so simple but so unique.
Yeah. We didn't want to build. We didn't want to overdo it. This is not a high dollar show car type situation.
Right.
Tony built these beautiful fender wells in here, and then they were louvered, so we have nice airflow coming into here.
Yes.
And then we took the brake system that you see there normally the factory version of this was underneath the car. Well, we brought it up onto the firewall here.
Right. No, man, everything looks as if somebody took time to design and put things together and made it very pleasing to the eye.
Yeah, and I don't know if you noticed, we also put in struts on the hood rather than the old style springs.
Yeah.
That makes it a lot simpler. Holds up really nice.
Yeah. But Louis, would you like to explain in the front and the back? I don't think we had the chance to look at it because the space was tight.
So the front of the car features just the stock bumper, so nothing too extravagant there. The center portion of the front end has been modified and changed from the factory version.
Yeah.
So this was again done by Tim Dempsey. These are 1939 Ford headlight lenses and bezels, and then behind that I've got halo LEDs. So I have a remote control in the car, and I can change the halo colors. They flash, all the different colors and all that kind of thing. So I was going to say, they are HID headlights, so it's very, very bright at night. They really light up the road very well.
Right.
But I'd say my most prized possession on this car are the mirrors, the side mirrors. Those are brand new 1961 Chrysler mirrors. Okay. So I found those from a guy on eBay. They're called NOS, which is new old stock.
Okay, Louis, so now since the car is outside, I can see a lot more contours and then some nice design like this exhaust. So please tell me about this opening and then the back of the car.
One of the issues you have with a car like this is what do you do with the exhaust, And especially when you're dumping the car all the way down, you really don't have room under the bumper, and I didn't want to go through the bumper.
Yes.
It's been done. So I wanted something a little more unique. I've always liked the teardrop style exhaust exits. So I found these on eBay. They're a 4-inch opening. Now these were actually designed as a stack on top of a car for like a race car.
I see.
Through the hood. But I thought these would make great exhaust exits. So I'm running Borla mufflers, which I love Borla. Borla sounds awesome.
Very nice.
And then my buddy Chase, who also gets credit for working on this car, actually hand built the exhaust system back and brought the exits out through here. We're not completely done yet, of course, with the car, and we're going to be doing some more stuff around that. We're going to do a little heat shield and all that around those.
Nice.
But the car just sounds beautiful. It has that nice sound to it.
I agree 100%. Now, the bumper, you're going to leave the bumper like that, like a little rusty, and kind of add more character to the car?
Once we actually get the car finished, we're gonna do a gloss black paint with a rainbow flake for time being, and then I'm gonna wrap the car in a different color. We're gonna do black cherry on all the chrome. Nice. So the front and rear bumper is gonna be black cherry. The trim around the taillights black cherry. The trim around the headlights black cherry. The side mirrors will be black cherry as well.
How big? Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, so this is, a 50 Mercury bumper. It's been cut and fitted to the car. Mm-hmm. So everything was custom made to fit that bumper in the back. And so you can see it fits very tight. We still have some adjustments to do there.
Right. How big is your trunk? I'm sure it's like, you can put like 10 people inside.
It's pretty large.
Is there a way to open it?
Yeah, so I have normally we have an electronic trunk pop for this. We had a problem with the fuse, but we have an emergency release underneath. So this is how our trunk looks now. And we still have to go in and do all the finish work, of course.
Right. And what's that, would you say?
So that's the air tank for the air ride system.
I see.
And then over here in the corner, you got dual Viair air compressors. And then you have all your air lines running out from there.
All your insulation up here?
This is some of the skin insulation from Resto Mod, who I also got the AC heater unit with.
Right.
Up on top deck there, you see a amp for the stereo system. So I've got a JBL subwoofer in there. We've got Alpine speakers front and back with tweeters and 3-way crossovers. And then I've got an Alpine touchscreen stereo system in there. So a little more modern. With that, but I love music, and I wanted something nice in there.
No, the boom box and then the amplifier with the whole car shaking with that boom, boom, boom sound will look more, will enhance the effect of the car. So I agree with that.
Yeah, I love 50s, 60s, 70s, and 80s. That's the stuff that I love.
Beautiful.
Then we have the ride height setting, and then we have the pull dump, which would be your show setting. This is going to set the car all the way to the ground.
Nice.
So when we're at shows, now we have the look that we are trying to go for here. The air ride's nice because it gives you a little bit of a softer ride, but also gives you that nice mean profile.
Great. So here we are inside this time machine, the Franken Sled. This is Louis, this is Dr. Fastlane. We are now going for a ride. And I can see, I love the fact the gears has those notches in there.
I wanted to do something a little different rather than a traditional column shift or the floor shift. So I put in a horseshoe shifter setup with this, and this is rather unique, more traditional to like your 70s hot rods, but it's very comfortable, it's convenient, and I wanted that 2-seat column look inside the car, so this was perfect. Tony had created everything you see around it.
Oh, man, this is fast.
Fast and loud.
Louis, I love this car, man. Don't sell it. I would pay you the rent to ride in this once in a while.
That's funny you said that. I had a guy reach out to me just a few days ago on Facebook, and he said, I was wondering if you'd be interested in renting your car out. And I didn't get specific with him, so I don't know if he meant he wanted to rent the time of the car with me driving it, or if he wanted to rent it, but no, that's not for rent. You can't rent the car.
But guys, I'm telling you, you would not find something like this. This is one of those things where one-off, all one-off.
That is absolutely true. There's not another one in the country like this one.
Right. And
it's not an unreachable price tag. In fact, it's more than reasonable price tag on this car.
I agree. It's not.
You couldn't build this car for anywhere near the price that I'm asking for it.
Yes. I'm impressed. I mean, I love fast cars, exotics. I have Lamborghinis and Ferraris and McLarens and all that. But when you ride something like this, it's like a different experience. You just can't experience this thing in exotics because those are different category. But this thing is like one of those zebras that you look for, like the flower that blooms in 100 years, and if you miss that, you missed it, and you have to wait for another 100 years. This is one of those things.
Good way to put it.
Yep. Look at this, stretch your leg all the way. I mean, still, I'm 5'11", you are like 6'2", 6'3".
6'2".
And our legs are fully stretched, and it's still there's space.
There's not a factory car that gives you this kind of leg.
You can, it's like traveling into the business, in a business class on a 747 Boeing. So I can even take a nap in here if you can see me. There you go. Where's my drink?
Yeah, so by the way, this interior was all hand done by Tony Hale.
Yeah.
He did all this at home. The dash actually was done through a friend of mine, Johnny Medina, here in town, and another gentleman he knows. This was an extremely difficult job to do this dash. And this is a marine material, meaning this is what they put on boats, because we know it's going to take a lot of heat. It's going to be exposed, but it won't degrade like your regular fabrics will.
Right. Yeah.
And we've still got to do the door panels. They'll match this velour theme, and this was designed to match the seats.
Nice.
So we're going to go back and around here. Seven 742 to tower. We're coming in for landing. Over.
The landing gear is not opening, Louis. What did you do?
In a straight, maybe? No.
Can someone guide us? We need to land this.
Yeah, you got to call.
A130.
You got to call in the landing when you're coming in with this thing. I'm going to be honest that when I first drove this car, I was very scared and nervous because of its sheer size, the visibility factor in the car. It all was pretty scary. Now it's like nothing. I get in this car, I just put the pedal down and go.